Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Ernie Schiller, who has started a foundation to support children and families in Nepal that came about when he started working over there as a volunteer science teacher. But it's not science we're going to talk about, it's art. So, first off, Ernie, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dennis, and thank you for all the listeners. Appreciate being here.
Tell me, Ernie, about how you first got involved in serving the children and bringing arts education to Nepal.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, Dennis, and thanks for the listeners out there. Um, yeah, I'm from Southeast Iowa, and I'm not an artist. I'm not an art person. I'm a science teacher. I've taught my entire life in Southeast Iowa. But um, in 2014, the US government was going to send five 16-year-old girls to India to study. And because they were 16 years old, they were too young to actually travel on their own, so they had to have an escort. So they enraptured me, a retired person that worked with foreign exchange students, to see if I would accompany them to India. And I thought to myself, oh, wow, I've always wanted to get to Nepal because I remember my second grade teacher saying, aha, today we have the tallest mountain on the planet. And she held up a picture of what is now known as Mount Everest. And then she turned the page and showed me some Nepalese families. And I thought, boy, that would be really cool. So the US government paid my way to go to India. And I just then took a short hop over to Nepal. So I flew to DC, oriented the five girls, and then I flew them to their families in Delhi, India. And while I was there, I took a quick tour of India and then flew to Nepal and hired this company, Earthbound Expeditions, that gives 40% of their profits back to the Nepalese poor people. So I hired a guide and they took me up into the mountains. We were trekking and doing some yoga and experiencing local life. And we were hiking down from a mountain one day and we came across one of the schools. Small school, small town. Maybe there were like 400 kids. So I said, gosh, I'm a retired teacher. Can I go in? So I walked into the classroom and wow, they have nothing. So before I left Nepal that summer of 2014, I went in five schools and I said to them, well, I'll come back in 2015 and volunteer, bring some science education because I'm a science educator, do a lot of STEM research. So 3 weeks before I left to go back in 2015, a major earthquake happened, 8.7 Richter scale. So it wasn't safe for me to fly. So I didn't go. And I thought, okay, that's it for Nepal. I'll never go back. Well, 8 months after the earthquake, this travel company, Earthbound Expeditions, said, Ernie, we need your help. All the places you saw in these remote mountain regions is wiped off the map. Homes, schools were destroyed, businesses, all their terraced fields because they farm on extreme slopes. Everything was destroyed. 9,000 people died in 30 seconds, and everything that I saw was gone, basically. So they said, well, with the resources in the US and with your involvement in education and the US Department of State and with local communities and being an elected official, if I could do something. And I said, well, uh, I'll try. So all the rest of that year and the beginning of 2016, I raised money and supplies and medical supplies, and I journeyed to Nepal as an educational volunteer, they now call me, in October of 2016, a year and a half after the earthquake. So I went to the mountains, didn't know where I was going, didn't know. I told my wife the last time I talked with her, I said, I'll talk with you in about 2.5 months because there's no infrastructure. So I dug in and I tried to help what I could, which ended up to be more than I expected. And so out of that came a foundation, which I had no idea that it was going to happen, but it's called Rebuild Nepal Education Foundation. And We have a board of directors, and our basic goal is to support those people that were displaced and heavily impacted by the major earthquake. So our number one goal is to pay for kids' schooling that uh, their families can't afford the bits and pieces to put them in school because they lost everything. They lost their moms, dads, their water buffalo, which is like losing half of your all of your extremities. You know, that is very important in their culture. So we pay, we find these people, these families, and we be sure the kids get to school. And we have to buy them a uniform, pair of shoes, flip flops, that sort of thing. So this foundation has been around for 5 years now, and we are supported over 600 kids in school. And now, because we've been there so long, we have several kids in college. And I think there's 23 that we're paying college tuition for, and extreme poor families. And if those kids take our resources to go to college, then when they get settled, they have to actually pay it forward 3 times in their life after they get settled and established. So in the on the fourth mission trip, I was walking down from the mountain, going back to Kathmandu. We had been there for 2.5 months. And one of the teachers that I met at a remote school sent me a Facebook message, because wherever we go, I take used cell phones with me and I give them to people, and then we communicate. And he sent me a photo of 2 of the students that had done some art. And I thought, oh my gosh, when I got back to service, I messaged him and I said, wow, you know, I'm a science teacher. Um, would these be for sale? Well, he said, I'll ask. So uh, it dawned on me, science, you know, science engages a lot of graphic arts. And so we spent 6 months developing uh, a possibility of having Nepal's first art exhibition. Now, I'm not an artist, but I put together a package. I've written a lot of materials for science, and so my youngest daughter is also a science and art teacher, and we developed a proposal where kids could develop art of any structure, 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, whatever they wanted to do, and we would host Nepal's first art festival in Kathmandu in May of 2019, about a year and a half ago. Well, I just put that out to all my friends and teachers and colleagues and anybody I knew in Nepal, and anybody that knew a Nepalese, I sent it to them so they could share it. Well, at the same time, University of Iowa had planned on sending 27 educators along with me in 2019. 27 pre-service educators. They were just finishing their degrees. Most of them were science teachers, but 4 of them were art students, teachers. And all of a sudden, in comes a lady by the name of Dr. Claire Baldus, who's from the Marion, Iowa area. And she's an astute art teacher. Hadn't met her, but she and Ted Neal, science educator from University of Iowa, said, well, we want to go with you. So with these 27 kids, with Ted Neal and Claire Baldus, we went to Nepal and went to the remote mountain regions and volunteered. And then one day back in Kathmandu, we had this art festival. So to make a long story short, we had all of this art from all these students, from all these schools, displayed in one of the schools. Like, it's kind of like a gymnasium sort of thing, inside gymnasium. And we had the art all up and down the walls. And one of the major art teachers, his name is Sujan Tamang, he was the one that helped us put up all the art, and we were judging it. And Claire Baldus and her kids, we judged the art and gave each kid special prizes. And I asked him to display his art as well, because he teaches art at 4 schools. So at the conclusion, he said, well, what are we going to do with this art? I said, well, I don't know. I guess we'll pack it up and give it back to the kids. And a couple of the little kids said, well, would you take it to the United States with you? Well, yeah. What are we going to do with it? Well, just take it. It made them feel so good to feel that their art was leaving their country of Nepal and coming here. So we packed it up and we brought it back. And then Sujan gave me like 35, 40 pieces of his watercolors. And I brought it with us. We brought it back to the United States. And on the way back, we decided, well, let's have a little festival and maybe we can sell some of the art. So for the last year, we have been displaying Nepalese student art, as well as the teacher Sujan's art. And so when the kids sell a piece of their art, they get 100% of the money. It goes right back to the kid, and it helps pay for their education. And we've been doing that now for over a year. And all the money from the kids' art has already been given back to Nepal, and those kids now can use it for their schooling. So that's how I got to Nepal, and now how the Nepal art is back here, actually in Marion, Iowa, beginning this weekend.
There's a show featuring this art going up at the Artisan Sanctuary. It'll be up about 6 weeks, and I think it goes up on Saturday the 14th. What is Saturday? We
The
in
14th, yes,
2020, in 2020 we lose track of the calendar dates. Saturday the 14th. So you said you brought 35, 40 pieces over with you. Have you been selling from that stock? How many are left, and or are you getting replenished at all?
Yeah, well, out of the art that I brought back, I think we had about maybe 70 pieces of student art, of which I think there's about 35 or 40. And then Sujan, the art teacher, who, by the way, he gets paid the grand total of $200 a month teaching at 4 schools, no retirement, no insurance. Now, with COVID over there, he lost his job in March. There's no schools in session. They don't need any teachers, so they don't get a salary. They don't get a stimulus from their government, like our US government has been fortunate to give us. So I've been selling his art and transferring the money, and sometimes I've had to advance him some money because he has $0 to live. So in his pandemic time, he has shipped me 2 shipments of art. So we have probably, I know last week he sent me 55 new pieces. A week ago, Thursday. So it's fresh art along with his probably remaining 35 pieces. So we probably have 150 pieces of student art and art teacher art from the culture of Nepal at the Artisan Way for this weekend.
You mentioned that this was the first art show that was ever held in Nepal. Do you know about Nepalese art exhibits, other ones in the States, or do you think you're one of the first ones showing this art in the States too?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I can make a fair assessment from all the contacts that I've had with our foundation in almost every state and every country. I believe this is the first time that any of the Nepalese student artwork has made it to America. And this is the first time that we've actually had a professional artist like Sujan bring art to America for an exhibition. In August of this year, the Fort Madison Area Arts Association sponsored a 1-month gallery of Sujan's art. But the Fort Madison is a much smaller community, like 10,000 people, compared to hundreds of thousands around the Marion area. So I personally believe this is the first time that there's been any Nepalese art exhibition in America. So it would be a rare opportunity for the people in the Cedar Rapids Marion complex to actually visualize some Nepalese art. And if they get a chance to go, I mean, I realize there's a pandemic, but on Saturday, there will be a grand opening from 5 o'clock until 8. Masks are required, social distancing, but if you can get in there during this next 6 weeks, you're going to see some incredible stuff from some incredible kids and their incredible teacher, featuring things of their culture, the mountains, their homes, the yaks, Y-A-K, their their carry animal. You're going to see them because in every one of their arts they feature their religious places because the culture is so rich in religion. The typical Nepalese will go um, to their temple once a day. So usually you'll see in their art, you'll see mountains, yaks, you'll see their temples, you'll see their homes. Uh, Totally different than the landscape in central and southeast Iowa. So it's be a rare opportunity for you to actually visualize um, good art from a science teacher's point of view, and again the opportunity to purchase and share some of your resources with some of these extremely poor people.
The exhibit opens Saturday the 14th at the Artisan Sanctuary, which is in the heart of uptown. I think they call it Uptown Marion, right there along 7th Avenue. And as you said, Ernie, it's a chance to support these kids and their teacher, who, of course, even in the midst of what we think of as an economic downturn and a depression here in the States, we still live like kings compared to these students and their parents and families and teachers in Nepal, and an opportunity to see something that you really can't see anyplace else in the country. It sounds like Nepalese art. Um, Ernie, good luck. I hope that you sell out and get a lot of funds to send over there to help all these students and their teacher, and expose a lot of people to the art and culture of Nepal. Before we go, quickly, if somebody wants to know about your foundation that helps in Nepal, you have a website. Give that address for us.
Yes, well, yes, Dennis, we do. We have a website. It's simply rebuildnepaleducation.org, rebuildnepaleducation.org, or you can Facebook me, just Ernest Schiller, uh, or if you go online and just seek Schiller GoFundMe Nepal, it'll pop up. But it's an opportunity to expand. If you go to our website, you'll see our board of directors and what we're doing in Nepal. And a big shout out to the Artisan Way, Jim Jacob Meyer. Whoa, what a wonderful person that the city of Marion and the Cedar Rapids complex has in that wonderful volunteer. But please come by Saturday or anytime after that. I think they're open Tuesday through Saturday. But watch for the website, or give a call out, or even to Dennis Green. I'm sure he has my contact number. If you can't get it,
Yep.
just
You can, yeah,
call.
if you can't find it any other way, call me and I will hook you up. That's what I do. Ernie, this is a fascinating story. Thank you on behalf of everybody for working so hard for the people of Nepal. And I hope that, as I said, I hope that you sell out and have a good luck with this sale, and that hopefully sooner rather than later you can get back over there and see how everybody's doing.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dennis. Namaste to all of you listeners. Appreciate that.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or using your favorite podcast app. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.